Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of r/JustNoMil. In today's episode, So told his mom about our pregnancy today. An upcoming visit. MIL and FIL cause a public scene and storm off because of a costume. Before we get started, make sure to subscribe so you will never miss a video. So let's get started. So told his mom about our pregnancy today. All that was said was she's not happy, but maybe she will be later. What ya all think? I don't really feel like giving her the tabs on anything. I'm an adult, not FKN teenager. I don't need approval on my family planning. Do I sound juvenile for saying this? ETA, see comments for additional MIL comments. I think these hormones are doing me absolutely no favors right now. Already told, so she is to know nothing more aside from due date and gender if we decide to find out. My mother-in-law was fake happy when we announced. She was trying really hard to smile, but you could see she was imploding inside, because we did it on a big family group setting. Later in therapy, our therapist told her she's jealous of the baby and me, now that her son has to be completely dedicated to us, and not her. I am in my husband's life forever now with having a baby. Since the baby has arrived, she hasn't attended a single family event because she cannot handle not being the center of the universe. She even told my husband, since the baby got it's just you three in a little bubble and no one loves me anymore. Currently pregnant with my second. When we told her, she just said, I guess that's good. And then started crying and phoned my sister-in-law saying, why did I deserve such a shitty life, etc. I don't understand, because she actually very good with babies, because she has the maturity of one. But she just cannot handle that my husband says no to her now, because he has other responsibilities. Trust me, things only get weirder and more dramatic once the baby arrives. Dear Mill, as it turns out, not everything is about you, but rest assured, I'll remember this when you come around wanting to be grandma and saying things about your grandson. Thanks for showing how overjoyed you are about news we allowed you to know about. Chat later, or not at all. I'm actually considering copy and pasting this. I'm even more cheesed now because I was having edibles way before I even knew I was pregnant, which I knew relatively early, for weeks, and she's going off on how there's going to be something wrong with the baby. Last I checked, she didn't even have a high school diploma, let alone a medical degree. I'll listen to my OB and GP when they say that it's highly unlikely there will be issues as the baby isn't even connected to a placenta yet. This right here. Do not tell her your due date. She will amp up the crazy the closer you get to delivering. I hope not. Don't tell her the real due date, or she'll show up at the hospital and make a scene. If you must give her a due date, make it a couple of weeks after the real due date. Don't tell her the baby name, or she'll pitch a fit and demand some name she picked out. Just tell her you'll pick a name after the birth, or give her a fake list of potential names. Tell her you decided not to know the gender. Strict info diet, or she'll just make your pregnancy miserable. Congrats! You can dub her as Grumpmother. This made cackle out loud. Omfk. I almost choked. I read that as a grump humper. Don't tell her your due date. She could pull all kinds of crap if she has that info. From trying to come stay with you to help, to trying to be at the hospital, to announcing your due date before you do, or generally causing drama around that time to try to stress you out and ruin that time. It's just not info she needs. Same with the gender and name. I'm only telling my mill and my own mother about the next baby after I've already given birth, and I'd recommend the same for you, TBH. She missed out on her chance to be happy about it and involved, and that's on her. No due date. Please add 3 weeks on top of your real one. If she decides to get involved, she might start nagging you. With the fake date, Elo will already be born before she can ramp up her behavior. Congrats! She doesn't get to know anything until after Elo is born. No due date. No gender. No updates. No pics. She gets nothing. Can't risk making her even more unhappy. My MIL was definitely not happy. We were too young, me 33, DH 30, and she always had it in her head that DH was dumb, and pursued an alternate lifestyle, this because he didn't play sports, so where did that baby come from? Oh, I could write a novel longer than War and Peace. Yeah, my MIL, I need a good nickname. I have one, but it might be offensive to others. Thinks for whatever reason she is the smartest person in every room she enters. She is not, and I will die by that. She also loves to treat everyone else like they are stupid too. She's also incredibly racist, somehow strongly misogynistic, arrogant, and borderline a narcissist. Boy, that felt good to get off my chest. An upcoming visit. My mother-in-law story is a bit different than the normal ones I constantly view on this forum. She's never hated me, welcomed me into the family with open arms, and always puts effort into coming to visit us despite the 4-hour drive. Where things turn south for me I'll list out below, and I'll be going in chronological order from when the issues first started 3 years ago. We used to visit a lot before work prevented us from doing so. We always stayed with his aunt, who mostly raised my husband. So when we went down, of course, always called his aunt in advance to inform her of our visit, because who shows up unannounced? But this led her to accuse us of hiding the fact that we were in town visiting from her on purpose. We did not, she just chose not to come over. She always stays in a hotel, which is not an issue as she rents 2 rooms, one for her and a second for my husband's grandmother, but always expects us to stay with them so she can have 24-hour access to our daughter. When we do spend time at the hotel, she would constantly try to take over care of our daughter, and get upset when we would tell her no, our daughter our responsibility. She would also constantly wake our baby up even when we explicitly told her not to. As our daughter has of course grown, currently 18 months, she always says the same line, albeit in person or on FaceTime, "Hi pumpkin, it's grandma, you remember grandma?" Oh, she doesn't know who grandma is because she never sees me. She FaceTimes, and I kid you not, almost every day. She will always try to buy your affection. She will spend over $1,000 on our daughter and my husband and complains when I won't allow her to do more than pay for my meal. But I've seen her demand you use/wear what she's bought and then get pouty when you don't. When it came to our daughter's first birthday, I called her 2 months in advance and repeatedly told her our plans, to which she said she would ask off and buy the baby's cake. Okay, awesome, any help is always welcome. Well then 4 days before the birthday I asked her about the cake, because I bought decorations, and what time we should expect her on the day. She proceeds to call my husband, after I left for work and she knew because my schedule had been the same for over a year, to tell him that I never told her about the birthday party and she has to work, but wants us to come down in 10 days so she can throw a party for our baby. My husband calls her out as he, himself had reminded her and informed her that she needed to call me to explain why she wouldn't be there and there would be no cake. She did not call but instead texted and asked why I was mad at her, me being confused because I was not present for any of this, and called my husband who explained what had happened. I confronted her but got nowhere. We scrambled to get a cake and managed to have a small, lovely celebration. No happy birthday for kiddo, nothing from his mom, and has never been brought up since. All in all, not bad. My husband and I used to agree she's just eccentric and needs to be handled with kid gloves. That is until her last visit. She had asked if she could come down the day before my second C-section to help with our daughter, as I will be adjusting to another baby and recovering from a surgery that prevents you from picking up anything over 10 pounds. She wants me to stay in the hotel with her so I can recover comfortably. I said yes because my husband was due to be away in the Sergeant's Academy and my mom and I were fighting at the time. I regret ever saying yes. All goes okay. Our daughter is a little apprehensive about going with Mael, but I just chalked it up to her not being around her grandma. Our daughter has never been the same. After I was released, stayed 3 days, I noticed that my sweet little girl has started throwing tantrums. When she gets told no, she smacks herself somewhere on her body, screams bloody murder while getting a bath, and isn't smiling like she was. By the end of her visit, our daughter has lost weight and doesn't want Mael to touch her. On the day she leaves, I have our son in the carrier and I go to grab my little girl, while this woman straight up snatches her away. This causes our daughter to throw a fit trying to get away, and I tell Mil to give me my child, but she tells me no. I told her that I wasn't asking, I was telling her to give me my child, and she tells me no again. I saw red. I told her that she had no right to tell me no and to give me my child right this second, and yanked my kiddo from her arms with such force that I nearly tore my staples. I didn't hurt our daughter, just myself. She doesn't talk to me on the 10-minute ride to my house and leaves. 2 days later, starting at 7 a.m., she starts calling my phone. When my husband came home at 6 p.m., I had 14 missed calls, 17 missed FaceTimes, and 25 text messages wanting to see our daughter. I have kept her on LC ever since. Well, she's coming to visit this upcoming week. And she wants to babysit both kids this time, on her last night, because my husband and I both work. I told her no immediately, twice, because she insisted after the first no. My parents take the kids when both of us work, and our kids love my parents. Our daughter bursts into tears just seeing this woman on FaceTime. I informed my husband that this time I'm doing things my way. I'm not going to the hotel until both kids are up for the day. I am not staying past 8 p.m. I'm not forcing either kid to give affection, and finally, she is not babysitting, I'll call in before that happened. He agreed, said I'm the boss and our kids come first. Well, guess who texted me yesterday to say she's excited to see us and she cannot wait to babysit. I cannot wait to see her face when I gather the kids and say, okay, we will see you tomorrow. I have to get the kids to their grandparents' house so I can go to work. Thank you for letting me rant. Our daughter has never been the same. After I was released, stayed 3 days, I noticed that my sweet little girl has started throwing tantrums. When she gets told no, she smacks herself somewhere on her body, screams bloody murder while getting a bath, and isn't smiling like she was. By the end of her visit, our daughter has lost weight and doesn't want Mil to touch her. Your Mil abused your daughter. This is 1,000 red flags. She is terrified of her. She can't even look or hear your Mil's voice without crying. To follow up this comment, please don't make your daughter see her abusive grandmother. What is it about her that means that your husband was raised by his aunt? Just that fact would make me nervous to have her around a child of mine, unless I knew the reason and was satisfied it was the real reason, not the family excuse. This needs to be higher. This was my exact thought. Your daughter clearly never wants to see this woman again. It's terrifying to contemplate why, but you should absolutely respect her wishes. She is NC for the foreseeable future by her own choice, and you will enforce that. Mil cannot see her under any circumstances. This visit is not happening. Opie, why are you subjecting your vulnerable daughter to this woman when something clearly happened to her last time she was alone with Mil? Your daughter's behavior and reaction to her is extremely worrisome. And your Mil sounds like a terrible person. Something has happened to your child, and why heaven and earth aren't being moved to find out what exactly is beyond me. I know you said no advice, so I'll adhere to that. This woman hurt your daughter. Repeatedly. I know she is little, but play therapy is very successful, and I implore you to take her to a therapist to find out what actually happened at your Mil's house. These reactions are very telling, and as a parent you need to know what went on that changed your daughter and her reactions to this extreme. I hope you tell her she can mount a cactus before ever being left alone with any of your children ever again. And refusing to hand your baby back? JFC, she cannot be trusted. Chalked it up to her not being around her grandma. Our daughter has never been the same. After I was released, stayed 3 days, I noticed that my sweet little girl has started throwing tantrums. When she gets told no, she smacks herself somewhere on her body, screams bloody murder while getting a bath, and isn't smiling like she was. By the end of her visit, our daughter has lost weight and doesn't want Mil to touch her. On the day she leaves, I have our son in the carrier and I go to grab my little girl, while this woman straight up snatches her away. This causes our daughter to throw a fit trying to get away. are no two ways to say this. Something traumatic either involving MIL or someone MIL exposed your daughter to happened at her house. Behavior like this does not happen in a vacuum. The fact that she 1. Reacts with terror when a male touches her, 2. Is suddenly afraid of taking baths, and 3. Strikes her own body are the reddest red flags imaginable. This is easily one of the most disturbing things I have seen in my short time posting here. The signs your daughter is exhibiting near your MIL are trauma responses. Either your MIL did something to her or was present when something happened to her. Do not let that woman around kids anymore. Kids don't just start having those kinds of reactions for no reason. Good Lord, what did she do to your poor daughter? I wouldn't go visit her at all as she obviously did something to her. I'm only visiting because of his grandmother. But I'm keeping my kiddos close to me at all times. MIL and FIL cause a public scene and storm off because of a costume. My MIL and FIL are very religious and conservative. For the most part, this hasn't played a significant role in how they interact with our kids, apart from a few "when are they getting baptized" or "are you taking them to church" comments. My 32F and SO 31M, and I have 1 bio daughter, 9, and 2 foster, 5F and 4M, kiddos that we hope to adopt one day. This past weekend it was family weekend at my younger SAL's university, and the whole family went out for the weekend. The first day was totally fine and fun. My kids love seeing their grandparents and aunt, and we had a nice time. The next day my SO and I arrive at my SAL's apartment, and she excitedly said that a gift came in for my foster son. His favorite movie is The Princess and the Frog, and his sisters have costumes for Frozen, their movie of choice. My foster son asked my SAL if she could get him a Princess and the Frog costume. She said yes, because she is amazing. She caught him a Tiana dress because there wasn't really a frog costume and my foster son wanted the dress. My SAL gave the dress to my son and he loved it. He asked to put it on right that second, over his clothes, which is how we normally play dress up at home. Eventually my MIL and FIL arrive and I don't even think about the costume. We are walking out of my SAL's dorm when my MIL corners my SO and I and shouts I cannot support child abuse. Take that dress off him. My SO and I just kind of freeze and make eye contact with my FIL, who looks like he is going to yell at us next. I say, please don't accuse me of that and please keep your voice down. MIL and FIL then storm off and leave. We go on a tour while other family members go and try to talk my MIL and FIL back, all while DH and I are trying not to distract our kids and redirecting questions. Eventually my MIL and FIL returned to eat lunch with us, but they sat next to us and didn't say a word. They then asked me to drive them back to our Airbnb because I was already planning on driving my foster son back for a nap. I didn't say a word during the car ride to stop myself from exploding at that, and luckily they didn't want to talk either. My MIL and FIL talked around us the rest of the weekend, and generally it was a very awkward weekend. I immediately wanted to ghost and go no contact. My children came from legitimately abuse homes, and for someone to accuse me and my wife of child abuse because they watch too much Fox News is ludicrous. My SO wants to talk to them and set boundaries, but I don't see the benefit is this. I am going along with my SO's plan to eventually have a talk with her mom and dad, but I think there is little benefit in re-establishing that relationship. Thoughts? Former foster parent here. Good job in shutting it down right away. What they did was unacceptable. B. Make sure you tell the kids' worker and therapist this happened, and what you did about it. The kids probably should have a chance to talk it over with the therapist. The worker needs to know in case your in-laws call and file a complaint. C. These people have shown they are not safe around your kids. You can't keep allowing their presence in the lives of your children. Until they demonstrate they understand what they did was wrong, why it was so wrong, and show extended meaningful change, it should be NC for you and the kids. That accusation could have cost those kids dearly and further traumatized them. Sorry they accused you of child abuse, drop the rope. Once that accusation is made, there's no going back. If your wife wants a relationship with them, then she can, but you and the children are off limits. Protect those children from their bigotry, toxic and vile behavior. They will impose and try to force their views on your children. Please let the two children's social worker know what happened and that you want them to have no contact with your wife's parents after their horrible verbal abuse witnessed by the children. I know here in the UK, if you don't tell them and they find out, they take a very dim view of you, as you're meant to protect the children from all forms of abuse. Protect yourself from any complaints and investigations before they report you, and I believe they would out of spite. Tell their social worker, cut all contact with you and the children, and tell your wife if she wants a relationship to have one, but you and the children will not be. I'm sure a good social worker will back you up on this. You and your SO need to be on the same page here regarding contact/no contact, but I'll think the fact that your MIL went straight to accusing you of child abuse is reason enough to cut contact. You have foster kids and they can be taken away if she makes an accusation of child abuse. Even if it's just while an investigation takes place, I imagine they've been through enough already. Sit down with your SO and explain that you could lose your kids because of what MIL said. And aside from that, it's gross to associate wearing a dress with child abuse. MIL making comments will not stop. People like this will not just sit down and shut up and let it go. She will continue making comments to and about your son, and he shouldn't have to deal with that. Protect your kids and keep MIL far away from them. That's messed up. My father is a very manly man, boys don't wear PUK etc., but even he wouldn't care if one of his sons was playing dress-ups in a dress. It's play, for goodness sake. How are they going to act if one of your kids turns out to be Lebka plus, or to have a non-traditional job, or to have an obscure interest that they don't understand? It's better to rip that band-aid off now while the kids are still young and don't really understand the implications of their insults. And he's 4. He'll want to be a policeman, dog, and doctor next. Hang strong, OP, you're doing well. As soon as I saw religious/conservative, I knew exactly how this was going to play out. You handled the situation well. Going LC or NC is definitely the way to go here. Yeah, no. I would be reluctant to let my kids be alone with people who react like this to kids innocently, happily playing dress up, because it's almost certain that they will try to influence your children behind your back in order to save these poor, innocent children from Satan's vile tentacles. My 5 years old this year is going his Rainbow Dash. Kids don't care about what adults do. My sister told me he cannot have a dress, though our boys have had baby dolls and girl things, as I have 2 daughters. My 13 years old would dress up in dresses with his sisters when they were little. It's called imagination and they should get one. You're not overreacting. Your in-laws are not safe around your children. Also, parental controls on Fox News are an option. If you made it to the end of the video, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe and share, and we will see you in the next video.